Welcome to an hour of HealthMade Radio. HealthMade is a community for natural health seekers where we educate people about common health conditions and share extensive research on the most effective natural health treatments and promote legislation that protects our health freedoms. A core concept belief is in the innate intelligence and healing power of the body, and if properly supported spiritually, emotionally, and nutritionally, it can find its way back to health. HealthMade Radio will bring information from integrative health experts throughout the world. Check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Beth Greer. Beth Greer, also known as the Supernatural Mom, is author of the bestseller Supernatural Home, an environmental toxins expert and educator, award-winning journalist, stem cell activation advocate, and a documentary film producer. She eliminated a sizable tumor in her chest without drugs or surgery by detoxing her body and home. She is founder and CEO of True Vitality Project, offering strategies, insights, techniques, and proven methods to radically transform your health and vitality. Her work is endorsed by Deepak Chopra and Dr. Joseph Mercola and has been named a top 50 health and environmental journalist to follow. She is a former San Francisco Chronicle, Washington Times, and Huffington Post columnist and former president of the Learning Annex, a nationally renowned adult education company. She is a popular speaker at industry expos, private firms, health clinics, nonprofits, and schools. She has presented at Google, LinkedIn, SXSW, the Real Truth About Health Conference, and the American Academy of Environmental Medicine Conference, and has been featured on CNN, NBC, NPR, Rodale Wellness, Martha Stewart Living, Health Magazine, Prevention Magazine, and on several health summits. Find her latest news, info, and programs at bethgreer.com. That's BETHGREER.com. Beth, I'm so excited about this subject because it's so important. I mean, we don't realize how important what it is that we're going to talk about until you understand what we got around us. Right, it's true. Thank you. The show's almost over with that long bio, but okay. I know. Well, that's what you get for accomplishing a lot. I apologize. I'm curious, the Learning Annex, I mean, that's a huge organization. You were president of that. Yes, I was. I was president and co-owner, actually, and that's where my story begins, because I was so stressed out. I didn't realize it. I wasn't paying attention to my stress level. And I think it's really important that we do that, because what happened to me was I developed this pain in my shoulder. I went to my chiropractor, and after 5 sessions, he said, I think you need an MRI because the pain was not going away. And so MRI revealed I had a mass in my chest, and it was big. And I just thought, what? How could this happen to me? I really thought I was leading a healthy lifestyle, and I was doing everything right, and I had this tumor in my chest. I mean, it just was so shocking. So And that tumor, because I mean that's a thing that people don't recognize when they live. They just keep on pushing. They're living in that sympathetic nervous system state. We live in a world where when we're accomplishing, we're active, and that's how we measure success. But we don't realize how our bodies are taking a beating. So here you found this huge tumor in your chest. And what happened? I mean, what did you find out, and what did you do? Yeah, so I had it biopsied first, and they did a needle biopsy, and they discovered, I mean, thank goodness they said there were no cancer cells, so I breathed a big sigh of relief. But it was a large schwannoma tumor, a nerve root tumor, and I went to 3 top surgeons, and they all agreed that it needs to come out surgically, but they couldn't agree on how to access it. So the first one said he was going to cut me under my collarbone, and the second one said he was going to go in under my armpit, and the third one, I remember, said to me, no, I'm going to go in through the back and remove one of your ribs and then put mesh back there. And I just thought, this
this sounds crazy, and I don't want to do this. And, you know, the risk of losing the feeling in my hand permanently, because my first 3 fingers were already starting to get numb, and from the tumor pressing on the nerves that ran down my arm. So they told me that I could lose, you know, the use of my right hand. And I thought, no, this is not going to happen. So luckily, I had booked myself into a place, a healing center down in San Diego called the Optimal Health Institute, where you eat raw food and drink raw juices and meditation and like that, learning about how the body heals itself. And I noticed that after just 3 days of being on a raw food cleanse, mostly just green drinks, that the pain started to diminish enough that I didn't need to knock myself out with sleeping pills. And so I thought, this is really interesting. And one of the things, the exercises they gave us was to talk to our disease. And so I asked, you know, why are you here? What's your message for me? And the word came, simplify. And I realized I wasn't really living a very simple life. It was very complex, and the food I was eating was definitely not simple. I ate out every day because I was running this big company. I was in 6 cities, right? So I was eating out, I was microwaving my food, and I started to simplify first what I put in my body, the food and water, and then I thought, well, what else can I simplify? And I looked at the moisturizer I was using on my skin, and on the label it had a paragraph or 2 worth of ingredients that I couldn't pronounce. So with my journalism background, I started researching and discovered that these chemicals are toxic, and our skin is the largest organ, and so those chemicals can get in to our bloodstream. So I switched out to all natural products, and then I looked at what I was cleaning my home with, and I had a bottle of Windex, and on the label it said, on the back, it said, precautionary statements, hazardous to humans and domestic animals. And I thought, well, this can't be good. So I switched out to white vinegar and baking soda and hydrogen peroxide to clean with. So I really went through, you know, with a fine-tooth comb, what I was putting in me, on me, and surrounding myself with. And it took about 9 months, and the pain went away. It disappeared. This was about 19 years ago. And then I had the mass scanned again a few months later, and it was gone. It disappeared.
That's incredible. And that's
yeah.
And that's what's so important for people to understand, that our bodies are so amazing. It has the ability to heal and regenerate, clear out these masses, if we only give it the chance. And like you're saying, by simplifying, by removing these obstacles that the body has to deal with, you give it a chance to be able to correct things.
Right. And the thing is that what people don't realize also is that just because it's on the store shelves, people think it's safe. Well, why would they sell anything that would be harmful to us? They ask me. Well, they sell cigarettes, right? I mean, plus the fact that when a manufacturer or a company that produces chemicals, they may test one chemical, but they're not testing the cocktail of chemicals that are found in the assortment of things that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So from the fragrances in our cleaners and our shampoo, you know, the fragrance, the manufacturer can put over 100 and very often more chemicals in that one catchphrase word, fragrance. So if you think about, you're putting fragrances from your body care, from your cleaners, from kitty litter. I mean, there's fragrances in garbage bags now. I mean, just think about all those chemicals that are coming into us, and we don't know what the effect might be.
And a lot of these companies, they keep that secret even to like FDA and things, just because it is a proprietary blend. So it becomes like their secret blend, and
exactly.
So they don't have to disclose all the information as to what it is that they put in, as long as it falls within, certain guidelines.
Exactly. And I know that there are some legislatures that's trying to be passed about the hidden chemicals in our cleaning products. I don't know where that is right now in terms of, passing the law that shows, transparency and disclosure about what's being put in there. But if you have a cleaner in your home that makes your eyes tear, you want to get rid of it. That stuff is toxic. It may get your oven grease off quicker, but it's really not healthy for you. And so in my book, I have recipes on DIY and just simple things you can do to avoid those toxins.
And just so people can have an understanding, kind of how many chemicals are we exposed to? How the amount of chemicals that is being sprayed and given throughout the United States? How many different types of chemicals? I mean, what are some of the numbers that you can give for people to understand the load that we continually are exposed to?
Right. It's endless. I mean, when you think about for example, I'll just give you one example about eating non-organic food that's been sprayed with glyphosate. And now, that's in Roundup, right? So it's cancer-causing. There have been lawsuits. The stuff is really, really toxic. And what people are not aware of is that they're spraying this glyphosate on wheat to dry it after harvest. So a farmer maybe didn't spray it during growing season, but then when they cut it down to avoid getting moldy, they're now allowed to spray glyphosate on our wheat. So, and where's that wheat going? It's going into Cheerios. It's going into your wheat bread that's not organic. It's going into the breading on your frozen chicken wings or whatever. So it's like we're getting dosed, and that's just one example. And then, as I mentioned, there's hundreds of chemicals in fragrance. It's just the fragrance alone. So if you're using a scented bath soap and scented shampoo, and maybe you're using a scented deodorant, and then some of your makeup is scented, and then your cleaners are scented, and you start to add that up, it's just astronomical. So what I tell people is try to avoid fragrance, any kind of thing with scent, scented candles. So I'll just give you an example. I go into people's homes, or at least I did before COVID, and help them figure out what is causing their particular illness that the doctors can't figure out. So I had one client who had a chronic cough for 2 years. She was on codeine cough syrup and inhalers, and she couldn't figure it out. And then she said, when I sleep at a hotel, I don't cough. And I was like, okay, the light bulb went off. And when I walked into her bedroom, she had about 20 scented candles. And I said, and I could feel my throat starting to itch. And I said, well, here's your problem right here. And she really didn't want to hear it. She said, oh, no, these are relaxing, and they were expensive, and I light them every night, and they were gifts. And I really almost had a tug of war with her to put them in a bag. I said, let's just try an experiment. Let me take them out of your home just for a while and see how you feel. So she let me, and she called me 3 days later. Her cough was gone. So in addition, I pointed out she had all these scented hair products and makeup and all that, so we got those out too. So it's fascinating. And so the switch was I had her use beeswax candles, which have a lovely natural scent, but not added chemicals. So it's just amazing. Such a simple thing can make such a huge difference.
And that seems to be kind of what we're seeing, is that we have people that are exposed to these chemicals, these toxins through food, through the environment, through things in their home, what they apply on themselves, and not recognizing that this is the issue, and now they're having to go on pharmaceutical agents to balance out or counteract, well, I wouldn't say counteract, to shut down the symptoms that are caused by these toxins that they expose themselves to on a daily basis.
That's exactly right. And then you've got all these different pharmaceutical drugs that interact with one another. And the simple thing is There's another client who was getting dizzy spells. So she got in the mail, it was a Nestle's hot cocoa mix without sugar. So she drank a packet. She got 3 of them. Drank a packet, got a dizzy spell. It didn't really equate the two, but the next time she drank the second packet, had another dizzy spell, and she saw on the label it said aspartame. So she kind of like wised up a little bit, and then she went to a restaurant and ordered some pecan pie, and when she got up from the table, she had another dizzy spell, and she was smart, and she asked the chef, what did you sweeten your pecan pie with? And he said he used aspartame. So she was able to connect the dots, and what people who are not aware of this, they'll go to their doctor and get on anti-dizzy medication because they think they're having dizzy spells coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it's not from nowhere. Very often it's just from the foods you're eating.
Yeah, it's a direct correlation. Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Beth Greer, also known as a Supernatural Mom. She is the author of the bestseller Supernatural Home. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Beth Greer, and we are talking about how we can clean up your home, clean up your environment, clean up your food for better health and well-being. So I'm curious then, we're exposed to all these chemicals, and like you're saying, they sneak in everywhere. So it's almost like you have to do an inventory as to where the exposures are and how to eliminate them, how to identify them. So how can a person kind of systematically go through how to identify all these different chemicals and exposures to chemicals? And are there certain things they should watch out for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in my book, not that I want to sell my book, but I really did break it down of what goes in us, what goes on us, and what surrounds us. And it's all in a very, carefully orchestrated way of educating people and then showing them the safe things to use. But so number one, chemicals in your food, try to eat organic as much as possible, and any food that contains artificial flavorings and colorings are a suspect, and so try to avoid the processed foods. Artificial food dyes, most people are not talking about it, but back in I think it was the 70s, I forgot the doctor's name, Feingold, he saw that artificial food dyes are causing temper tantrums in children, and they've done research on this in Europe. So he got the kids off of the food dyes. So even if you're not a child, adults too, those food dyes and artificial sweeteners and colorings, food additives can really have a big impact. Number two to look at is what you're putting on your skin. So try to be as natural as possible. I took a client shopping. He wanted a deodorant. He wanted a stick deodorant, and so there was Tom's, deodorant, and most people think it's all natural. Well, the second ingredient was propylene glycol, and that's found in, of all places, antifreeze. So we really want to put this chemical, under our armpits. So we found a more natural one without it, and the thing, I use baking soda as a deodorant, and it works like a charm. I just put it in a salt shaker and sprinkle some on the palm of my hand after I shower and put it under my armpit, and good to go.
And then you made a good point. Like Tom's is considered a natural brand, so even you can't just assume that because it is in a natural section or considered a natural brand that the ingredients are going to be good. You still need to look.
Absolutely. And some of Tom's products are fine and some of them are not. Now, Tom's was bought by, I believe it was Clorox. So a lot of the big companies are buying these smaller, natural, organic companies, and they're not as pure as they used to be. So, yeah, you have to be sort of a good label reader, even if it is in the natural section.
So you have, so you need to go through then obviously what you put in yourself. So you got to be systematic. What's going into my mouth, and then you need to take a look what's going on to my skin. What are the antiperspirants, the soaps, the shampoos, the cosmetics, the moisturizers, all of these things. So you got to kind of go through all of those. And then what else do you need to kind of
And the third is what are you surrounding yourself with? So what are your cleaners that you're using? What are and the other big one that's gotten really way more significantly harmful in the past 10 years is the electromagnetic field radiation. Carrying your cell phone around. Having a Wi-Fi router next to you, having a Wi-Fi router on while you're sleeping. I tell everyone to unplug their router at night as just the basic thing to do. Your body needs to rest. We are electrical beings. Our cells communicate electrically. You can get an EEG or EKG. It's measuring the electrical impulses between the cells. When you're exposed to these electrical fields, it can really wreak havoc, from heart palpitations to insomnia to headaches. So it's something to take a look at. I've been in homes where I have these meters that I measure the fields, and the whole home is sort of quiet. And then I get into the home office, and it's like the hairs on my head stand up, and the fields are so high, and they're sitting at a little desk surrounded by their cell phone, their cordless phone, which has a high field too, the router, the computer, the printer. They're just surrounded by it, and they're sitting there for hours at a time, and they don't understand why they don't feel well. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have any of this. And if possible, get your home wired with Ethernet rather than Wi-Fi. If you can do that, get out in nature, walk, ground yourself, put your feet on the ground. So those are to get some sunlight in your eyes in the morning, early morning. These are some of the things that I do.
And we just like you said, we hardwired our home, and so when we have our cell phones at home, they're on airplane mode, and they're plugged into the hardwire. So that way you don't have to deal with that signal, continual interruption, because we are electrical beings. We have all the neurological activities, our brain activities, all these are electrical events. And so if we have these strong fields, obviously it is going to interact with our electrical events, which is our thoughts and physiological functions and all the communication that takes place in the body. So, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. And this is huge. I think people are just not aware of it. And those little earbuds that are electrically, I guess they're hooked up through Bluetooth because they don't have the wires. Those have a huge field. So, it's just something to pay attention to. We're so used to carrying our phones. And so if I don't have my phone in airplane mode because I want to receive calls, I'll take the cellular data off, turn that off, and that lowers the field dramatically.
Yeah, that's great. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm here with super natural mom, Beth Greer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm here with bestseller Beth Greer. She is the author of Supernatural Home. So, Beth, we've gone through kind of the areas to isolate to see what is, what are we putting in our mouth, what are we putting on our skin, and what are we surrounded by. So one of the things that is really, with what we're putting in our mouth, the additives, the food colorings, the sweeteners, and then also we want to make sure that it's organic, because all these pesticides, when and growth hormones and antibiotics and all these different things that we are ingesting when we're not eating organic, and also, we want to know our source. If we have the ability to know, who's the farmer and how do they do it, and if we can get it local, obviously, that's always better. But then we in regards to what we are putting on ourselves, that seems to be even a stronger disconnect with people in regards to cosmetics and moisturizers and soaps and shampoos and things. What are some of the things that you, over and above, you mentioned scented, but what are some other things, other words that is commonly in these products that people should watch out for?
Yes, the scented, the word natural, first of all, is just a marketing term. It's really meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Sometimes they'll have a picture of some natural, sunlight and flowers and stuff, and it's really not, it's meaningless. That's all I can say. But what I wanted to share was to look out for the words made with, because it's a catchphrase that manufacturers use, and it can mean one drop. So if it says made with essential oils, it could mean literally one drop, and they can say it, 1%. If it says grass-fed, even, I'm thinking about, you were talking about eating locally and buying, knowing where your animals are coming from. I visited a farmer, a rancher in Oregon, and he told me that ranchers can claim that their meat is grass-fed if the calves are fed grass for like a couple of weeks, and that's it. Then they could feed them corn and soy, and it's still considered grass-fed. So look for 100%, right? 100% grass-fed, 100% finished or pasture-raised, that kind of thing. So the same with any other product you're looking for, whether it's, you're looking for 100% wheat bread, or if it says made with wheat, it could, again, a teaspoon, and that's it. So that's a big catchphrase that manufacturers love to use. Yes.
Yeah, and then some, like you're saying, like in cosmetics. I mean, what are some of the things that you need to be cautious with? I know, for instance, you have all these different xenoestrogens and xenohormones, that can really create dysregulation in your whole hormonal system.
Right. Well, there's something called parabens. So those are preservatives, and those can be, there's xenoestrogens. So if you find ethyl paraben or methyl paraben, you want to avoid those. I have a whole list of chemicals to watch out for in my book, but off the top of my head, those are the. If you look at it, if you see a paragraph worth of ingredients on a label, I would just avoid it, unless it's. Sometimes you'll see words that are in Latin from essential oils. Those would be okay, but anything else, anything with a PEG in it, now, polyethylene glycol. So, and that's happening in our vaccines as well. I mean, you just need to be aware of what is going in our bodies and on our skin. So PEG can be pretty toxic, and anytime you see a 3-letter all caps word, those stand for chemicals. So the fewer the better. The most natural cosmetics. I mean, there's companies that you can find them at Whole Foods, or some of the natural markets are better than buying your drugstore brand, for example.
And are there certain ingredients that's commonly found in cosmetics that you say, if you see these things, like for instance, if I look at the bottle of a supplement, and I can see that the manufacturer is taking great care in choosing the right type of ingredients, what are some of the telltale signs that I can say, oh, this looks really good?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, to avoid that anything with those three letters, like the PEG or the parabens, anything with, just parabens or phthalates or another one to avoid. So you want to stick with fragrance-free. If you can find, either phthalate-free or toluene is another one that's found in nail polish. They put in methyl mercury in some mascara, which is not really great. I would just try to just keep it simple. Do your homework. The Environmental Working Group has an online database that lists thousands of products. So they have a skin deep report, so you can go and take your product that you want to look at and search their database and see how really toxic it is. So and look for great natural makeup lines, things that are have the fewest chemicals and preservatives that you can find.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm here with Beth Greer. She is known as a supernatural mom. She was able to by being natural and simplifying her life, able to eliminate a big tumor in her chest. I mean, just seeing the impact that it has to clear out this junk out of our life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Beth Greer, and we are discussing what we can do to make sure that you minimize the amount of toxic exposure that you have in your life and in your surrounding. So tell me a little bit about cleaning agents. What are some options people can use? And because I'm always surprised. Here I have patients that are coming to me and they're eating organic, and they are doing everything supposedly right. And then I ask them what laundry detergent they're using, and then they're all excited to say, well, it's unscented Tide. So tell me a little bit, why is that wrong?
Well, Tide, for example, in general is pretty toxic, and so when it's unscented, very often a manufacturer like that will put in a chemical to mask a fragrance. They use masking chemicals, believe it or not. So that's why you want to find some natural products, and you can find them at stores, and I list them in my book. So, using natural things like your grandmother used would be borax and baking soda, white vinegar are great cleaners.
So unscented does not mean not scented.
Correct.
Okay.
Except if you're buying something from, for example, Seventh Generation, which I think is a good company, and their unscented products are unscented. But Tide unscented, chances are they're using a chemical to mask the scent in the toxic chemicals. Does that make sense?
So it just means that you're just not smelling it. That's all it means, even though the chemical is still there.
Exactly. There you go.
Okay. It's fascinating. Yeah. And so the natural, like you're saying, like borax and what else? I apologize. What?
Oh, it's okay. Hydrogen peroxide, white vinegar, baking soda, and any like Arm & Hammer is okay. But some of these companies it's called greenwashing. Simple Green, for example, is a product that is not particularly healthy for us, but people see the word green on the label and they think, oh, it's good, it's fine. So
yeah, exactly. Green. It's kind of like our vaccine passport now. The green green passport.
Right. Green passport. Yeah.
Yeah, green is better. We're thinking. So yes, please shoot me in the arm. And then also for things like cleaning the counter, what should people use there to kind of make sure you kill off pathogens, but still, we want to make sure that we're clean.
So on my website, BethGreer.com, I have a whole section on recommended products. So I've done the research for people, and so it goes right over to Amazon, so you can find, my recommendations on the best cleaning products, the safest, that kind of thing. But if you want to make your own, again, you can use vinegar and water, and it smells like vinegar. Initially, when you can add a few drops of essential oil, but there's that vinegar smell for a couple of minutes, and then it evaporates and it's gone. And vinegar kills. It's amazing. I use vinegar there's my outdoor fountain. It kills all the mold. It's just amazing.
I see. Obviously, it's a whole lot better option than bleach and other chemicals.
Yeah. Yes, I would avoid bleach whenever possible. Yep.
And just so people can understand, what do these chemicals do to you? We're saying, stay away from these, and you gave some examples as to how people were impacted. But what do these chemicals do to us when we're exposed to them?
Well, they really do mess up our hormones, like you were talking about. They really have an impact on our brains, how we're thinking, on our upper respiratory problems that we got. Headaches is a big one. So I would start slowly, moving towards non-toxic cleansers, cleaners, that sort of thing, non-toxic makeup, and move in that direction.
Yeah, and something also that people, I'm just trying to bring out what I see my patients don't recognize, like furniture. And you were talking in one section in your book, you talk about air quality, and obviously then we have like when we buy a new couch or new carpet, or wallpaper, all these kind of things. What kind of exposures do we have there?
Yeah, so it's funny because this woman had called me and said that she developed terrible migraine headaches. It's like I said, how long has it been going on? She said 17 months. I said, well, what happened 17 months ago? Oh, I remodeled my home and I put in new carpeting and, this and that. And so when I went there, the smell was really strong. She had these synthetic carpets and paint and all that. So something like that, first you need to air it out. If you've already done this, get air purifiers. I had a couple of, had to get 2 air purifiers to get going on it. But in the future, choose natural materials like a bamboo flooring or a natural carpeting, made from wool rather than nylon. Just the paint should be zero VOC, volatile organic compound, they're called, so it doesn't have that smell. So, she was fine. And it was interesting because she eats all organic food. She's off dairy. She makes her own almond milk, and it's just funny how some people have a certain sensibility about one area in their life, but the other they're completely clueless about. She had no idea that she was being impacted by the off-gassing from her new couch, for example, and the carpeting and paint.
And what do they put in? One of the issues from my understanding are all the fire retardants, like for baby mattresses, baby toys, furniture. There's a bunch of fire retardants they put in. That is obviously when you're sitting on it, when you're playing with it, as a baby, then you're getting all that into your system.
Absolutely, because it does come out and falls to the ground as dust. So what you want to be doing when you're cleaning is sort of wet mopping or using a moist, rag or something or a mop to get the dust up. And I believe that that's part of the reasons our animals are so sick, because I talked to veterinarians, they've seen such an increase in pet cancers and leukemia and all this. And I think it's from, they're all lying on the couch or lying on the floor near the couch. And so, so it's really important to be vigilant about that. Keep your windows open if you can. Living in a home where the windows are sealed shut or working in an office with it sealed shut, that can lead to problems as well.
And that comes to another great point, which is, we're talking about green home versus healthy home. We have this energy conserving, energy saving mentality, but how healthy is that?
Right. Well, again, you want to get some fresh air in your house, get sunlight in. Some of these smart appliances, they give off high levels of electromagnetic field radiation. So, the smart meters, I opted out of getting a smart meter, for example, and it's just that I don't want a home where the appliances are talking to one another, including that, the portable phone where the base station and the handheld, which is in another room, is talking to each other constantly. So when I mean talking to each other, I mean that it's sending a signal back and forth, and that signal is going through us. So I try to avoid those cordless phones, or if you have one, just use the base station and disable the other one.
And I'm sorry for throwing kind of random questions, because I know we're kind of getting towards the end, but I want to make sure that we address them, like cookware. What?
Oh yeah.
What should people look for there?
Yeah, I mean, I came a little late to the party on the cookware because I thought that these green pans were okay. Definitely nonstick are not great, like Teflon and all that. And DuPont is supposed to reformulate. I had written in my book that DuPont was supposed to reformulate the Teflon back in 2015, and that hasn't happened. So I thought a cookware that's all it's stainless steel, but it's the kind that surgical stainless steel. So they put this in when you have hip replacements, for example. So because all the other cookware tends to emit either vapors that are not good for us, or especially that nonstick, it can chip off over time, and then we're eating it, and we're getting those chemicals. They're called forever chemicals. So there's a reason, because they stay in our bodies forever.
That doesn't sound good.
No.
No. Oh. And
I wanted to just mention, I know we're running out of time, that I have been looking ever since I healed myself. I've been looking for other ways to heal that are non-toxic and non-invasive, and I discovered this stem cell stimulating patch that I wear, and it's healed my circulation in my leg. So I just wanted to let people know that if they go to TrueVitalityProject.com, they can see those pictures of my leg and learn more about this amazing patch. And also, I have a free ebook there called How to Activate Your Stem Cells for Healing and Vitality, because it's really about natural healing. It's really about, like when you spoke about in the beginning of the show, that our body has innate healing ability if we get out of its way. And so I really believe that pharmaceutical drugs are not the answer. Don't pop a pill if you have a headache or an ache or pain. And these patches have been a godsend for me, and so I just wanted to let people know about them.
Awesome. Yeah, I did one of my radio shows. I interviewed David Schmidt, which is the creator of these patches.
Yes, he's the creator of it, right?
Yeah. So they're amazing. We use them here at the center, and we love our patients. Love them. So absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much, Beth. This is tremendous information, and it's tremendous for people to become aware of where they can have these different exposures, and to really systematically go through what we're exposed to, what we have around us, to be able to clean all of that out. And the first step to any part of healing is avoidance. I mean, avoid what is making you sick. That is always the first step. And and getting your book, Supernatural Home, is a fantastic step-by-step process where you kind of learn how you can go through and clean out, what you put into yourself, what you put onto yourself, and what you surround yourself. And thank you so much, Beth, for bringing this information forward.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. That is it for today. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. Remember, check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it.